All right, let's talk Wi-Fi security. We're going to do a deep dive through the generations, from the old stuff to the new. And look, for anyone working in IT, knowing how we got from there to here isn't just trivia, right? It's absolutely fundamental to understanding risk and building networks that can actually stand up to threats. So, let's just jump right in. Now, just so you know where all this is coming from, this analysis is pulled straight from Chapter 16 of a super detailed report on Wi-Fi and Bluetooth standards. It's the work of a group called RFI Detectives, who are part of Virtualization Options LLC. And get this, it's just one part of a massive 20-part series. Today, we're zoning in on the security evolution they lay out in that chapter.
Okay, so we've all seen the letters, right? WEP, WPA, WPA2. But here's the thing. As professionals, it's not enough to just know that one is bad and the other is better. We have to know why. What were the precise catastrophic failures that literally forced the entire industry to evolve? That is the real question we're digging into today.
So, here's our game plan. First, we're going to lay down a simple framework, the 4 pillars of security. Then we'll use those pillars to really dissect encryption, authentication, and data integrity across all the Wi-Fi generations. And to wrap it all up, we'll see exactly how WPA3 was built from the ground up to fix the mistakes of the past. First things first, let's get our framework straight. To really compare these protocols in a way that makes sense, we need to look at them through the same lens. And that lens is made up of 4 core security functions. These are our 4 pillars. First up, encryption. That's confidentiality. How do we keep our data a secret? Simple. Second, authentication. How do we prove we are who we say we are? Third, key exchange. This is all about how we securely agree on the secret keys for encryption. And last but not least, integrity. How do we know the data we got is the same data that was sent with no tampering along the way? We're going to measure every protocol against these 4 things. Okay, let's kick things off with Pillar 1, encryption. This is all about confidentiality, making sure that if some bad actor is sniffing the airwaves, all they're capturing is completely scrambled, useless garbage.
Man, this table really tells the story, doesn't it? You can just see the evolution. WEP used this thing called RC4, but the way they implemented it was, and I'm not exaggerating, catastrophically flawed. They reused something called an initialization vector, which basically created a mathematical backdoor. It was a complete disaster, making it trivial to crack the key. So then WPA came along as a quick patch, using TKIP, which was basically just a wrapper around the same broken RC4. It was a band-aid, nothing more. The real jump happened with WPA2, which brought in AES-CMP, a modern, strong block cipher. And with WPA3, not only do we still have AES, but it's now mandated for certification. That means no cutting corners.
All right, on to the next pillar, authentication and key management. Think about it. Having a strong lock on your door doesn't do you any good if you hand out the key to the wrong person, or if you shout the key across the street. This is all about proving who you are and sharing that secret key safely.
Now, the way WPA and WPA2 did this was with something called the 4-way handshake. Its job was pretty clever. Let your laptop and the access point prove to each other that they both know the Wi-Fi password, but without ever actually sending the password over the air. Then, from that shared secret, they'd create a brand new key just for your session. For a long time, we thought this was solid, but it had a hidden design flaw, a critical weakness that attackers would eventually figure out how to exploit.
And this right here shows you the night and day difference. With the old WPA2 pre-shared key, an attacker could just sit nearby, capture that 4-way handshake, and then walk away. They could take that file home and just hammer it with a powerful computer, guessing millions of passwords a second. That's an offline dictionary attack. WPA3 completely kills this with something called simultaneous authentication of equals, or SAE. The magic here is that the SAE handshake gives the attacker absolutely nothing useful to work with offline. Every single password guess requires a live interaction with the access point, making those brute force attacks totally impractical.
Okay, on to our last pillar for this breakdown, integrity. And this is so important because it's different from confidentiality. See, encryption stops people from reading your data, but integrity? Integrity stops them from secretly changing your data while it's in flight. You have to be able to trust that what you receive is exactly what was sent. And the story here is just as dramatic. WEP used a simple checksum called CRC32. Let's be clear, this is for checking for data errors. It is not a security feature. An attacker could literally change a packet and then just calculate a new, correct checksum. It offered zero protection. WPA gave us the Michael Message Integrity Code, or MIC, which was a step up, but it could still be broken. The real deal arrived with WPA2 and continues in WPA3. It's called CCMP, and it bakes strong cryptographic integrity right into the AES encryption process itself.
So let's tie this all together. When you really look at WPA3, you realize it's not just another version number. It is a direct, point-by-point, systematic response to every single one of the critical failures that we've just walked through.
All right, so think back to that classic historical flaw, passive eavesdropping. An attacker could camp out, record tons of encrypted traffic, and then, if they ever got the Wi-Fi password weeks or months later, they could go back and decrypt every bit of that old data. Well, WPA3 slams that door shut with forward secrecy. What this means is that every single connection you make creates a unique one-time use encryption key that gets thrown away when you're done. So even if an attacker steals your main password next year, they can't go back and decrypt the data you sent today. It's a fantastic feature.
And then, of course, we had that absolute monster of a flaw in WPA2, that four-way handshake being vulnerable to offline dictionary attacks. For years, this was hands down the most effective way for attackers to break into modern Wi-Fi networks.
And once again, WPA3 directly neutralizes this with the SAE handshake. By making offline guessing impossible, it turns a sprint into a marathon for the attacker. A slow online guessing game that's easy to spot and basically useless. It's a total game changer.
So for any of us who architect or secure networks, what's the bottom line? The takeaways are crystal clear. You can see the story. WEP wasn't just flawed, it was broken across all four pillars. WPA was just a band-aid. WPA2 finally gave us strong encryption, but it left that huge hole in its key exchange. WPA3 is the result of learning from all those mistakes. It's a standard that was methodically designed to close those specific holes for good.
And that kind of leaves us with one final big question to think about. WPA3 has made the underlying protocol incredibly tough. It's addressed decades of known attacks. So we have to ask ourselves, now that the protocol itself is so strong, where is the weakest link now? What's the next thing we should be worrying about?